And I very much see this as my mission at Northumbrian Water, is to have the entirety of Northumbrian Water up dancing by the end of my time.
Do partners have to dance also?
Absolutely.
Will, I think when you do this in Denver, I want to see the dancing shoes polished off. Maybe the Sarni shuffle come out for maybe that one.
I promise I won't dance with wellies on, but I will dance.
Well, hello and welcome to The Stream, an unscripted, unedited, free-flowing conversation featuring guests with a bias for action in the world of water and beyond. My name is Tom Freyberg. I'm an environmental journalist and content creator specializing in water.
And my name is Will Sarni. I'm a water strategy consultant doing my part to solve wicked water problems.
And today we are delighted to be joined by Dr. Angela MacOscar, who is the Head of Innovation at the Northumbrian Water Group, known as NWG. Angela, great to see you again and welcome to The Stream. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me along. I'm delighted to be talking to you guys today.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we're thrilled to have you. We've heard lots of good things about the work you're doing at Northumbrian as Head of Innovation, and we've got a really interesting, I guess, backstory to bring in from you in terms of your time at a multinational and now leading the dance of innovation in the utility. But before we even get onto that, I've got a really serious, important question for you. Are your Wellington boots ready for the festival?
They absolutely are. Even if I have to wear them in this room, they are coming on. But this year, hopefully I'll get out of this room and actually see some people again, which will be amazing, and it's something that we're really looking forward to. Last year, we did our Innovation Festival all digitally because of what was going on in the world, and I'm actually really glad that we did. And we learned so much from doing it, so much so that we actually want to keep a really strong digital element as part of this year's event. We found that it was really inclusive and enabled people to join from anywhere in the world.
Right.
And there were actually people that didn't want to travel up to Newcastle in the northeast of England. Who would have thought that they would even exist? But sadly, this is the case. So it means that you can join us from anywhere, which is just hugely enabling.
Fantastic. So for some context then on maybe the Wellington boot remark and the festival, this is the Innovation Festival that the utility Northumbrian Water organises. It's kind of, as I've written in the past, the Glastonbury of water events, right? Which is not a kind of suit and tie affair in a hotel conference room. It's slightly different, right? I think that's just talking to people who may never have. I think just give us some context, and then Will, I'd love. Are you going to come over for this one? And also, how does Wellington boot translate to the US sartorial choice?
Okay, so I almost stopped both of you when you said Wellington boots with the question, what's a Wellington boot? So are these wellies? Is that?
Exactly. Those pictures you've seen of Glastonbury with people in the mud wearing these kind of knee-high rubber boots, like Wellington boots, wellies. Okay. So it's kind of like, there's no Glastonbury this year, right? Physically. No. There was a virtual version that you could watch. But the ongoing thing is, if you're going to Glastonbury, have you got your Wellington boots and your toilet roll and your wet wipes, right? For festival goers. So
sounds like quite the party.
It absolutely is. And as is our festival, it is absolutely not a conference. It is a doing event. Right. So we don't want people to be passively just sitting there on their phones, ignoring what's going on. We actually had the first event in 2017. It was the brainchild of my boss, who absolutely loves British summertime festivals, and we had just adopted doing the Google Ventures design sprints within the business. So we had a brilliant idea that why not mix the two together. So in that first year, we ran about 6 different sprint activities and a data hack at a race course in Newcastle. And they had a tented village that had a week's gap between Ladies' Day and Plate Day. So we actually took over the race course and hosted it there. And it was a fantastic success, both in terms of the engagement that we got and people coming along, but also from the output that we got. So we had almost this golden time of focus on some of our really big, tough challenges that are relevant not only just to the water sector, but to our communities and the world at large. So therefore, now this is going to be year 5 of us running this event, and it went from, as I said, being about seven different activities. This year, I've already got 50 plus activities planned in, and not only just in the UK. This is now something that we do across the globe.
So tell me about across the globe. And I think you know where I'm headed with this, which is how do we do something like that in Denver that supports your drive for innovation?
Oh, we would absolutely love to do something with you in Denver. So let's explore that. So last year, with us doing a digital event, we already had it in our minds that we were going to do a around the clock events that actually could really tap into the knowledge that was sat, in other parts of the world. So we worked with various different sponsors that had teams in Australia, in Canada, in India, in the US, you name it. And then we actually worked with them as in a bit of a tag team. So we'd either get up early, or we'd stay up late in order to then do handovers. And then they would then continue working on that sprint overnight. And then we would pick it up again, and it worked incredibly well. And there is such a wealth of talent and expertise and technology outside of the UK that we don't want to miss out that opportunity to use the festival as a way to suck it in. So it worked incredibly well. So we will be doing exactly the same this year. And I can probably let you into a little secret, because it is going to press this week, is in that Sydney Water are replicating and running a festival on the Sydney Harbour side this year. So it really is growing arms and legs and going totally global. So delighted about that.
Love it. So is that at the same time as the Northumbrian one? So it's run in parallel.
Yeah.
So Angela, we would be thrilled to represent the Mountain Time Zone as you follow the clock.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So
let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
So it's the week of the 18th of October, and we can cook up a plan that then makes you part of our event, and you'd be really welcome.
This is great. We, check the box. We have one action item from this conversation.
I love it. Is that where you see this headed then, Angela? Like a kind of like a US utility, an Australian utility, Northumbrian in the UK, someone in kind of more Central Asia. Basically, everyone at that everyone's doing like a water festival in that week. That's amazing.
Why not? I think the reason why the festival format has been successful, certainly for us and also for those that come along, is that number one, it's a doing event. So everybody gets something out of it. So as I said, we've adopted the Google Ventures design sprint methodology. We have obviously innovated it, which Jake Knapp had a heart attack about when we shared with him that we have up to 60 people in a room sprinting. He had a little moment on that one. We also do data hacks. We've also kind of made up our own things in that we have a year's worth of work in a week. So we estimated that if we had about 60 people in a tent for the week, then we had about a year's worth of hours in that week. And what we do is we focus on some things that we're really struggling to crack under normal work circumstances where you're distracted by things. So if you put the right people in the room, really focusedly on something, amazing things can happen. So an example of that would be the National Underground Asset Register. It actually came out of a number of sprint tents in year 1, but was so big and difficult that we didn't know what to do with it. So in year 2, we actually did this year's worth of work, because as we picked at that problem, we identified that one of the biggest problems was the data sharing agreement across all the different utility businesses.
Right.
So what we did in our year's worth of work in a week is we actually put as one of the streams of activity the lawyers, who were perhaps, it would take a lot longer than a week to get a data sharing agreement into place. So we literally gave them a pen and a paper and the mission that we're not going to let you out the tent unless you create this data sharing agreement. And already within that week, we had the data sharing agreement. We had already mapped Sunderland, which is a small part of our region. and then grew that ambition to then grow that out to the whole of the Northeast region. The UK government then saw what we were doing and then actually gave us £4 million of funding to grow the mapping in the Northeast and a part of London. And now a tender is out for that actually to become grown nationally. And this is estimated to save UK PLC about £1 billion, about £1 billion due to the utility strikes that can cause disruption, can harm and kill people. So when somebody's digging the road and unfortunately touches something that they shouldn't, having that knowledge of what's underneath will be a game changer for utilities in the UK.
I think there's something incredibly powerful about having
all from the festival,
but also having those people in a room in the same place at the same time enables you to, and I'm sure as you're probably speaking to partners and companies, everyone is chomping at the bit to be there, no doubt, right? Because there's only so much you can do via Zoom and Teams, I'm convinced. You know, I run an advisory board for Aquatech, and we normally come together for 2 days, and trying to do that same level of collaboration, firstly, trying to organize 15 different people from different countries into the same space at the same time. It's so difficult, but it's just not the same as having everyone around the table with that kind of goal. So I can imagine, yeah, you probably had some unhappy lawyers to start with being locked in, but they probably were happy by the end of it coming to that result, right? So
absolutely.
Tell us about your, because I think from a previous interview we've done, you used to work at Procter & Gamble, right?
Yes, that's right.
And now you're head of innovation in a water utility. So they're quite different animals, right? But there's some really amazing lessons from, I guess, coming up with a new development and pushing it through a company that ultimately touches 5 billion consumers through to a company that's delivering, has to be a safe and a clean service. So yeah. Tell us a bit about your work in Procter & Gamble and then where you see the crossover happening.
Yeah, so I did 17 years with Procter & Gamble, absolutely amazing business to work for, and really enjoyed my time there. And this is really where I got my interest in innovation from and got my innovation stripes, if you like. So I was primarily in the laundry sector, and I had an idea for a product. So if ever you've perused the laundry shelves in the UK and seen bold lavender and chamomile, that is my gift to the world. That was my idea. I created the prototype and managed to persuade many, many people that it would make the business money. And I'm very pleased to report that that was 21 years ago and it is still going strong.
We use that washing detergent
the UK
today.
Market. I delivered it. Both are doing well. So got a huge interest in that. Procter & Gamble are also absolutely amazing at innovation and one of the first, big players to really embrace this model of working. So I managed to get an awful lot of experience working with incredible people across the globe with P&G. And then I've done a few other things, but then have transitioned into the water sector, which on the surface of it would seem to be quite a strange move, going from somewhere so sweet smelling to somewhere perhaps not so sweet smelling. Also, the degrees of freedom in a regulated monopoly business is unreal versus, being in a corporate environment where, I'm actively seeking line extensions and new ways and new products to do things. I have one product essentially to deal with, and that is not going to be line extension to any time soon. But at the heart of all of what we do, the businesses are actually really similar in terms of their ethics and values, which is something as me as an individual, I'm actually really drawn to. And the second thing is to serve customers. So at P&G, the customer was absolutely the heart of everything that everybody in that business knew, and that's why they came to work. And really at Northumbrian Water, that is at the heart of everything that we do. So although I'm head of innovation, the top of the tree in terms of what I'm doing is delivering better products and services for our customers. So some very, very strong parallels there against the two.
Hey, Angela, you mentioned ethics and values. Can you talk a little bit about how that ties into innovation? I think most people, think about innovation in terms of just technology and not strategy and culture and the people side of the equation. I mean, just can you talk a little bit more about
Yeah, no,
that connection?
absolutely. So the company values and ethics, I think, are very similar. So they're customer focused, they are ethical. Like the environment plays a very, very important part. And I think in terms of the culture of the company and the culture to create an environment where innovation will thrive, there is definitely. I've taken a lot of what I learned at Procter & Gamble to bring that into Northumbrian Water and the water sector, because perhaps there was a little bit of a lag in terms of the maturity of the innovation culture within those two businesses. So it's been an absolutely amazing opportunity for me to come into the water sector, to bring that knowledge with me, to try and create this culture shift that is required in order to create this right environment. And I think that the way that we create opportunities for people to learn, to grow what they're knowing, to be open to change, to not have fear of failure, to openness to try, all of these things that are really important to create this fertile ground is something that I'm bringing and hopefully succeeding in slowly changing that culture in the water sector.
I think, sorry to interrupt, Will.
No, go ahead.
The important thing, and from our previous conversations, Andrew, is when it comes to innovation in Northumbria, it's not a kind of sidecar ticker box exercise, right? I mean, when you see your CEO speak Hydru Mottram, you see it's a key part of tying in with the business strategy. I mean, and when you think about, is it the CIO Nigel Watson as well?
Yeah.
When you think about what he's doing, so it's kind of driven from the top down. It's not like a kind of sidecar of ticker box exercise, right?
No.
And would you say that that's part of the reason why you moved to utilities, because you had the support from the executives from the start? Right?
In order for innovation to thrive within any business, you have to have the senior leadership team walking the talk.
Right.
100% backing what you're doing. Otherwise, you might as well pack up your toys and go home, because it's not going to fly. You need them to support you. And I'm hugely happy to report that the executive lead team at Northumbrian Water absolutely embrace innovation, want it to be a key part of the culture, and they are baking that in. But it's not only having senior leadership buy-in that is important. It's also important that this is something that is actually growing within the entire workforce, because ultimately these are the people who are doing the jobs, will see the opportunities to change things and what's needed. So we need them also to be very much on board what we're doing in order for innovation to thrive within the business. So I'm tackling it from both ends.
I've heard you call it a movement, but also a dance, right? Is it the Derek Sivers video?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk us through people who might not have seen it, the example of the dance movement, if you like.
So when I saw the Derek Sivers TED talk on how to create a movement, it's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it before. It's basically a guy in a field almost akin to a festival, just dancing, crazy dancing, and then he talks through the creation of a movement from that individual person, and next you have a couple of people who back him up, and that kind of gives the crowd validation that he's not just a crazy nut, that it's actually okay and fun to be part of. Right. And then slowly but surely the whole field is up moving by the end of this video. And I very much see this as my mission at Northumbrian Water, is to have the entirety of Northumbrian Water up dancing by the end of my time. We've got about 71 innovation ambassadors who are actively part of the innovation culture now. And as I said, I've got a few more to pick off, but we're gaining a nice little head of steam, and I'm pretty sure by in years to come we will have succeeded and have everybody up dancing.
So going back to the global partnership and scaling what you're doing through this sprint, do the partners have to dance also?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't know.
And
that
this
we'll
is a
record
wonderful
it.
opportunity for partners, because if anybody who's been part of the Innovation Festival will know, it's actually pretty scary at the beginning. Most people don't know what they're up for. And you can see them sat there, like being a little bit worried about what's going to happen. But during the week, incredible things happen during that sprint environment. Families form, the bond, even through digital media, is just absolutely incredible. And they are one tight unit by the end of it, who are so excited by what they've created and the possibilities that lie ahead, that it is just unbelievable. And also, as somebody who's facilitated these before, you see people grow. And for me, that is probably one of the most rewarding things. People maybe who were nervous to speak up or thought, I didn't know I was so creative. So even on a personal level, enabling people to be better and have confidence and to be able to, see things in different ways, it's just absolutely powerful. And certainly at the race course, when we were doing it in person, the atmosphere was electric. That even though there were people from so many different companies who maybe on the face of it wouldn't have much in common, everybody was just happy, free to talk to each other, wanted to work together. So the level of collaboration was just absolutely incredible, which is why people want to come back to the festival year on year, because it's just, it's just a formula that works.
It's infectious.
I love
It
it.
is infectious.
Sounds like
in a good way.
Building real momentum. A couple of things. I mean, Will, I think when you do this in Denver, I want to see the dancing shoes polished off, or maybe the Sarni shuffle come out for maybe
I promise I won't dance with wellies on, but I will dance. So how's that? I'm a team player. Angela, Tom and I talk about this all the time about, the power of outsiders coming into the water sector, and everything you've talked about reinforces that point of view, that belief that having a new perspective and drawing on your experience, 20 years at P&G made a difference, because it lined up with the culture of, Northumbrian, but also it gave you the ability to bring in some things that you've learned over a couple of decades. So, I wanted to highlight that, because it's another data point to support that we need more of you in the water sector.
Absolutely. And I think that the festival format enables other people from other sectors to come in. So yes, I absolutely agree that any sector benefits from cross-fertilization, because it's the water sector is an incredible place, and I'm often blown away by my colleagues or those in other companies that have such depth of knowledge, and we need that, and that's really important. But what we need to do is mix that with other things that are going on outside of our sector, so we can really leverage and fast forward our innovation journey, because I'm pretty sure that those solutions are out there. They're just currently in oil and gas, in space, in medicine, in other sectors that are well ahead of where we are. And we just need to be open to looking for those and having the right conversations that then can fast forward that knowledge into our sector, to make a real difference. And that's what happens at the festival. We invite anybody in, because everybody has got different back knowledge, different network, different, pieces of knowledge that we can, beg, borrow, and steal, glue together and come up with amazing stuff.
This is like radical transparency. I mean, in terms of, open arms to anyone who has an idea, or, who wants to be part of an idea and a movement. I absolutely love it.
Do you find, Angela, that I guess with the Derek Sivers video, the more people there are, the easier it is to kind of bring in people as part of that movement? So you feel like you're now at, did you say 70 plus ambassadors internally, which is fantastic. I think when we last spoke, you're on about 50, so already there's great progress. I mean, do you find as this thing gathers momentum, more and more people are kind of, what are those guys up to? Like, kind of just taking an interest and they want to be part of the conversation? I imagine it's kind of building in velocity as it goes.
Yeah, year on year, we've seen a steady increase in the number of businesses and people that want to be part of our festival. And this is just a brilliant thing, because it's such a powerful opportunity for not only just Northumbrian, but for the UK water sector, for the global water sector, you know, wherever we want to take this, you know, the better conversations and the more interesting and diverse conversations that we can have is betterment for us all. So no, definitely, we have no trouble now. I think probably year one we needed to twist people's arm to come along. This year we definitely have people knocking on the door, which is a nice turn of events. I think the other thing about the festival environment is that it's not just work. So we do ask people to work hard and to bring their brains with them, but we mix this up with comedy, with music, with unexpected famous guests and different knowledge that is already a different working day. And I think that this helps dislodge brilliant ideas or make connections that were never, or certainly in your normal day where you're just bombing from meeting to meeting, phone call to phone call, getting, you know, lost in email seas. You know, this allows you this golden time of focus to really think and interrogate a particular problem. And by mixing it up with these other things, it does good things to your brain that just, you know, free and enable creativity to its maximum level.
Well, I think people often come up, certainly I do, the best ideas or the most creative ideas when you're not trying to think and actually try and, like, in a boardroom, let's come up with an idea or an aim. It's like normally when you're doing something apart from trying to gin up an idea. So great stuff. So I think just a question I thought about on the way here is, how do you sort of, because I think innovation means different things to different people, right? And what might be seen as innovative previously may have been quite subjective. Obviously, there's the Ofwat Innovation Fund, which is great news now for the UK utilities. But how would you sort of, do you think you can quantify innovation in the work you're doing? Because I think that's something I'd love to get your views on, in terms of how do you measure, I guess, the impact and the metrics behind the success of innovation or being more innovative?
I think that we have got a key set of measures and key metrics that we are charting, because if you're not measuring it, you don't know that you're where you are with it, or if you're getting better. So I think it's really important to have the right metrics in place so you can actually track your progress, whether that's, you know, the number of innovation ambassadors, number of ideas, number of projects that are going into business as usual, value of the products, or like projects, all of that sort of thing. So we've actually had those metrics now in place for a number of years. We also have a clear stage-gated process for innovation. So although on the surface of it, innovation needs to be free, all the rest of it, it definitely still needs to be carefully nurtured and guided to make sure that we're working on the right things, that we are making a difference to the business. Otherwise, the innovation is of no use to us at all. So there are definitely some measures and targets that need to be achieved. Not all fun.
Yeah, I agree with your view of structured innovation. You know, absolutely essential. You know, constraints drive innovation. So, you know, it's sort of in the box thinking in a way. That's great. And you found the Google sprints were really core to driving innovation?
Yeah, I think they enabled us to work in a much more agile and fast way. So we could really give focus to a particular topic to really identify what is the problem, which is often almost the hardest bit of a sprint, is actually really identifying what you're really trying to do. And then with that laser focus, then coming up with some actionable solutions that you can actually prototype and test out in that week. So then it enables you to fail fast if you're looking at a dud, or it allows you to then actually, you know, have a little bit of a proof of concept to then run forward with into the business. It's a great way as well to make sure that you actually have, so the way that the thing is set up, so you actually have senior leadership buy into what you're doing, you have the right people in the room, so all the mechanisms are just the right things to do in order to get things off, rather than just a very keen individual having an idea and then having a little play. You know, you're not going to move very quickly with that. So we definitely need to make sure that we're enabling people with the good ideas to run quickly.
That's great stuff. So Angela, when we sort of pick the guests for the stream, we always try to have people with a bias for action, right? People who are change making or change makers. And we kind of, when we were brainstorming the season, we thought, oh yeah, Angela, what she's doing at Northumbrian Festival is great. So what are you, for the next, obviously apart from the Innovation Festival, what else are you planning to do or achieve kind of by the end of the year when it comes to your bias for action? We'd love to kind of hear your I guess, short-term plans of what you're going to achieve next.
Good question. So at the moment within the UK water sector, there is an innovation challenge pot that is a real focal point for innovation in our sector at the moment and a real enabler. So at the moment we are completing 4 bids for submission. So I'm very much hoping that by September time we'll know if any of those have been successful, and that will be an incredible milestone for us to have achieved, if indeed we do. But we still have plans if we don't achieve that funding. So we always work on things that we want to do anyway. So then at that point, I would just need to find another route to make it happen, because we would still want to do it anyway. So, but ever the optimist. So I have everything crossed. We have the Innovation Festival. We also are working on a number of projects that will flow into COP26. So some environmental based, so nature based solutions, technology based solutions, and a project on a fleet management tool that we're really wanting to have to come to fruition by September. And this is something that we'll see more and more. We've set ourselves an incredibly ambitious net zero target for 2027. So innovation is going to be a core part of making that a reality. So that's definitely in scope. And then beyond the festival and towards the end of the year, we're cooking up other innovation projects that will then go into future funding rounds. So I'm very much hoping that we'll have some really strong contenders coming out of the festival this year to go into funding next year that we will continue to nurture and grow. So we have a lot on the to-do list.
You've got a lot going on as well as the festival as well, right?
Yeah.
So great stuff. Well, certainly, we want to speak to you to see how those things have gone in a couple of months' time. We wish you the best of luck for the continued plans with the Innovation Festival, as well as seeing a version take place in Denver, Colorado.
A dancing event in Denver.
Innovation dancing event.
There you go.
Great stuff. Well, Angela, thanks for joining us on the stream. It's been a pleasure to kind of hear your backstory and really hear about, I guess, the role of an innovator within a UK utility. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, we hope you've enjoyed the conversation too.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Angela.
No worries.
Bye-bye.